So I wanted to make a very quick video on just pretty much the tools that I use and how easy it is to just start building a cabin. So obviously you're gonna need a place to build it, whether it be in your backyard or like on land or whatever, it doesn't matter. And you'll need some trees for lumber. So this video is pretty much not going to be about the location or anything. It's going to be about the tools that I used, and it's pretty much essentially free. I mean, you could have a like minimum wage job and pay for these tools. I didn't want anything big, anything fancy. This is pretty much the basic tools that I have. So probably the most important tool out of all would be my little axe here. I have used this thing, like this here isn't stain or dye, it's just sap that doesn't come off, it's part of the handle now, the wood absorbed it. It's a Snow and Neely Hudson's Bay axe. I have like debranched pretty much like 90% of these trees with this axe. It's a little camping axe. It's perfect size, I love it, I keep it sharp, it's a little razor blade, use it all the time. Also, before going any further, I would like to mention that one other tool that's really not needed at all would be my my chainsaw. I think I paid it, I believe, $150 or $200. It's the second smallest still saw that is on the market. It's the MS-170. I got that saw because it's very light. It's I think 30 cc's, and I could pretty much lug it around everywhere I go. Well, everywhere to the cabin, because I have to walk here. So yeah, I literally have no ATV, no vehicle, like nothing comes here at all. I'm on a mountain across a swamp, and I have two other mountains on the side of me. So literally nothing comes here. I can't drive a truck here, and I can't drive an ATV here. So everything, all the materials that you see here were brought on my shoulder, in my backpack, or last year, 2020, I bought myself a snowmobile. So I mean, some stuff was there, like the fireplace and everything. I lugged it here with a sleigh that I made myself, like with pieces of wood and tin. So everything here is pretty much. I made it myself. I found it. It was free. But yeah, so this axe, obviously you don't need a very expensive axe. I think this one's like $100-something. I love it. But I have axes that I like pay like $3 or $5 at the flea market that I bring also, and they do 100% of the job. My double bit axe that I use to split wood was like $5 or $10, and I love it. Next very important tool that I had was this cheap sledgehammer here. It's a 2 pound, I think, I don't know, small little head to nail in these spikes. Very important tool right next to the axe. But then again, sometimes before I left it here, I didn't have a cabin or anything. I just used the pole on my axe head. So this axe literally has done everything around this camp. So yeah, sledgehammer, but not needed. Also, like I said, maybe like $5 or $10. Then also important to cut planks. I used this little saw here. The tip broke off, so it's usually about this long. This little Opinel, I think it's a 12-inch saw, the 10-inch or the 12-inch. I have both models. I believe it'd be an 8-inch and a 12-inch saw they have. I have both models. This one is my favorite one, the 12-inch. It's really nice, really good size. You know, sadly, I broke the tip off, I believe, a couple weeks ago in a video. But yeah, it's just stuff that happens when you use your tools. So I'll try to get a replacement blade. This is pretty pricey. I think it's like $40, I think, or $50. But I also have a saw here that I use less often than this one, but I paid it $3.50 at the dollar store. It's just a more aggressive blade. And honestly, I like the cheaper saw just because it's longer, and it works just fine. Like I said, it's $3. To measure the logs, I have this logger's tape. These things are super expensive. I think this was like $20 at the flea market. The guy didn't really know what he had, and I'm like, how much was the tape? He's like, oh, it's old. I think it was like 15 or $20. So yeah, very, very cheap tape, super useful. Then the last tool I used for my chinking would have to be this, just the caulk gun. And this is the absolute crappiest, cheapest one that I have found at the hardware store. I think it's like $5 or $10. Like, it's the crappiest one. It's worked fine. Sometimes, like, the piston in it kind of gets jammed, but I mean, it does the job. There is some crazy expensive ones, like electric ones, and nobody needs that stuff. It's just nice to have. But yeah, also not needed because I did a lot of it with the axe. But to remove the bark, there is some like $500 hand forged, really nice pieces of equipment to remove the bark. This is an ice scraper from the hardware store that I think normal price is $30. I think I bought it like end of season, like December or January or something like that, after Christmas, and I think it was $12 or $15. So very cheap. I sharpened the edge of it so it was sharp enough to debark logs, and I have a lot of videos on there because that is pretty much all I use to debark the logs. But yeah, I'll give you guys a close-up of the tools. Seems like my camera's dying, so I'm gonna have to hurry up. But yeah, everything here is pretty much like almost under $100, $150, and I built the entire cabin. And like I mentioned before, I have a chainsaw, but it's just really not needed. An axe does the job. It just, if you have time, it's just a nice time saver, really. Or even just like a little bit bigger, like $20, $30 used handsaw would have done the job. And if I'm honest, a handsaw would have done a whole lot cleaner cut than a chainsaw, because chainsaw, it cuts really quick and you don't always have control. So maybe if I were to do it again, another hand cabin build, I would have used a handsaw. Also for the logs, like I mentioned, no ATVs, no pulleys, no nothing. It was just me and my dad and our two hands. So yeah, I'll give you guys just a close-up of the tools if you guys are wondering what they look like. So like I mentioned, a very cheap caulk gun. Very cheap model. I think it has like a plastic handle and everything. My Opinel saw, one of my favorite saws I ever owned. I love the brand. Always razor sharp. I've had it now for 2 years, I believe, and it's still held an edge. My Loggers tape, which I think I got it for a steal, but just look around. A normal measuring tape does the exact same job. Crappy plastic handle sledgehammer. These are the nails, the 12-inch spikes I use, and my Snow Neely Hudson's Bay style axe. And I love this little thing. And then for the final tool is this cheap ice scraper. And the sun is shining on it. But yeah, it's a very cheap ice scraper. The edge is all nicked. Doesn't matter. I just resharpen it with an axe stone. And it does the job. So yeah. Here you go. These are the tools I used. And then I'll show you guys around the cabin a little bit. So for the people who haven't seen it, this is my cabin, a little 10 by 10. I use pretty much pine logs because that's what I had. I'm now starting to build a workshop in the back. I still need a door and a workbench and everything. I'll show you guys around that. I started throwing some moss on the roof, and it's starting to live now. It's fantastic. I didn't think it was going to work, but it's catching on pretty nice to the tin. If I bring you guys around to the other side. So like I mentioned, a lot of stuff was just free or very little to no money. For example, the rocking chair that was found in the garbage. Window was given to me as an old barn wooden window. So yeah, very old, but I wanted a wood window, so something, you know, I didn't want like a aluminum one or anything. Wood one matches, and it was painted brown, so perfect. And I'll walk around here with you guys. So I had a workshop in the back. Starting to build all this. You know, everything is pretty much, I tried to make it homemade. So I didn't have any screens, so I found, I think this screen is from like a door or something, or windows that I found. And then I just took like some 1x3s and made myself a window screen, because bugs, well, a window and a door screen, because bugs and the summer are wild here. So yeah, made myself those. I split all of my own firewood. I built myself, had some scrap 1x3, so I made myself a very cheap ladder, but it's free and it didn't cost anything. So I mean, you risk your life every time you go up it, but at least it works. Then on the inside, you guys can't really see much because it's dark, but I have this little military cot, this big storage chest that I found in the garbage, this fireplace that was already on the land, was the original owners, so that was free. But yeah, I think these are like the cheapest fireplace. Hardware stores sell them all the time. They heat up a whole lot, but they eat up a lot of wood. Said I don't have, let's say, like a gun rack or anything. I have an antler that I already had. My rifle's on there. I have my cartridge belt that I made myself. I needed a shelf, so I made one myself. I have a pan here that I haven't used yet because it rusted in the winter, but that was like $3 or $2, I think, at a store. Cheap bellows that barely work. For matches, I just keep them out in the open in this tin container that I have somewhere. I wanted a meat drying hook, so I forged one out myself. That's like one of the first things that I did. And as I'm filming this, I have some sausages or jerky drying. Here's the inside view of the window. It's a sliding window also, which is nice. I wanted a little corner table here, so I made one out of myself. If you ask me, it looks terrible, but ooh, the sun just went away. But yeah, looks terrible if you ask me, but that's pretty much all the material I had. I just had like 3 scrap planks, so I made this out of it. I would like maybe like a huge log slice in there, just so it looks better. But yeah, as of now, that's what I had. And for a chair, I have this stool that I found. I think it was like in a basement somewhere or something. I don't know, like in the garbage maybe. I don't know where I got it. I wanted a mirror, so I have a slice of maple, and I stuck a dollar store like $2 mirror on it, and I hung it on the wall. So yeah, that's that. And all my lighting that I have now, I have one solar panel with 1 battery, but I have a bunch of these old lanterns. I have more here on my chest that were given to me, or I bought them at the flea market because people just didn't want them. So for like $3, $5, $10 each, depending. Like this huge one, I'm like, the guy's gonna ask a fortune for it. I think it was like $5 or $10. The guy's like, yeah, whatever, take it. I don't feel like packing it up again. So yeah, sometimes you get lucky and you get deals. But yeah, so that's my little cabin, 10x10, like I said, and now I'm working on a workshop. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. It helps out a whole lot. And don't forget to share.